And lights, camera, action.
I don't think we need that sync signal.
Well, you'd be surprised. But good afternoon, Mark.
Good afternoon, Carlos. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. And to all the viewers, good afternoon to everybody.
Yes, good afternoon.
This is part 4 of a 7-part series where I'm interviewing my clients to talk about how COVID-19 has affected their operations, their business, and more importantly, how it's affected their clients, which my clients in general, that means children who are involved in youth sports or after school activities. And so Mark is a little bit different in that we're more partners in a project that he approached me about and introduced me to, and it's for teaching algebra online. The name of the project is Algebra Victory, and I think it's great. I've done a lot of research on what's out there as far as online math programs, and what Mark is doing is a little bit different. I think it's what's missing from the others, but I'll let him talk to us a little bit about the strengths of the project. And so Mark, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself first, and then we can get into Algebra Victory.
Well, I've been very successful as a math teacher. People have called me the best math teacher in America. And algebra and geometry are subjects that a very large percentage of students have difficulty with. And it blocks them from getting into STEM fields, and it blocks them from understanding some of the deeper aspects or growing in some deeper aspects of their intellects because they get stopped. What they learn, instead of learning the algebra, they learn to be afraid of math, and they learn that that's something they can't do. It's simply not true. When I'm teaching them, they learn it, period. And I have for a long time wanted to build an online system or a system where I could teach large number of students rather than just being limited to tutoring or a small number of people in a classroom. And this dream is finally becoming a reality right now. So we're building a system called Algebra Victory. We have a website, AlgebraVictoryorg, and I am actually teaching algebra in 75 lessons to your daughter, Isabella. And we're in the process of recording these videos. It's going very well. And the online students will watch the lectures of me teaching Isabella at the same, and then they will do problems. And Isabella also does the problems. And we have a 2-camera studio so that they can see my face and body language with Isabella sitting next to me and her body language. From the front camera, we also have a camera on the top that's focused on the papers that we're working on so they can see all of that, and it gets edited together in a very beautiful way. And so the lessons are actually very good. We have a website, like I said, AlgebraVictoryorg, and at the website you can see 2 sample lectures, about 5 to 10 minutes each, and watch me teach and watch how Isabella learns. And then in the second video, there's a wonderful magical moment when she goes, oh, because she gets something. She's motivated to and doesn't know how to do. And then I finally show her the secret, and she's just like, oh, and she sits up straighter. She feels empowered by it. When students learn algebra and they really get it, it makes them feel powerful. It makes them feel confident. And this is important not only in math, but in life in general. So anyway, that's what we're doing. I'm very excited about it. And then we have a team of other people as well involved in who are going to be building the website and doing marketing. We've got a marketing plan. And I believe that this system is going to be able to become worldwide, very popular, very important. And we're going to charge. We haven't got a price yet figured out. We have market reach. No need for pre-algebra. Pre-algebra is a waste of time. So as long as they can pass, the students can pass a prerequisite test in advanced arithmetic, then they can enroll. It's not available yet. What we have on the website, we have an explanation of what we're doing and an opportunity for investment because we need to raise money right now, which is, of course, why you've invited me onto this video.
And if I can jump in.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. So I wanted to mention that to our viewers is that, so in our case with Algebra Victory, we're not asking for donations, we're asking for investment. So not only will you have an opportunity to help us build something that is important to every student, especially if you want them to go and follow STEM field studies in college. But also, I'm a big advocate for educational equality, right? And the educational equity and providing access to high quality instruction in mathematics in low income communities. And those good teachers just don't make it to those schools, right? And so before jumping again into the project, I want to talk a little bit about your pedagogy, your style of teaching. You've been called the best teacher in America. What do you think it is that you do above and beyond what other teachers do, or differently from what other teachers do, that makes you effective?
Give a little bit of an idea. If you say that, let's take first year algebra, let's take the entire curriculum, all of the concepts and skills that are needed to be understood for first year algebra, and let's say you make it the size of a dime. Let's say the dime is like a circle that represents every point in that circle is a piece of what you need to know and the skills you need to develop for algebra, first year algebra. Now, what does it take to teach first year algebra? To teach first year algebra is much larger. Make a circle that's, maybe 3 feet in diameter. So you've got this little circle in the middle, which is the actual algebra they're learning, but the pedagogy is much bigger. It's much more complicated because you have to understand not only all the things necessary to teach those skills, but also all the misconceptions that people can have and the mistakes they can make and what to do to correct those mistakes. And there's also a lot of emotional issues as well. Students get emotionally caught up, and there has to be a way to get them back on track so they develop confidence. Now, I had the advantage, first of all, I have a gift for this. It's very natural for me. I understand that space. I learned about that space of pedagogy at a very early age, and I did a tremendous amount of tutoring, one-on-one. And as a tutor, I would experiment. I'd say, well, what will work and what won't work? And I would play in that space with a single student. And I would see, well, that didn't work very well. Try something, oh, that works better. And I gradually developed this. And when I became a teacher later on and had it in front of a classroom, I already understood these things. They don't teach any of this stuff in the schools of education. People don't learn all this sophisticated stuff about how to teach algebra. There's another aspect to it, and that's the way the textbooks work. The way the material is presented in the textbook is of crucial importance, and it's usually done very poorly. I could go on and on and on about this. I've written all my own textbooks, and that's what I use. Those are the materials, and in fact, I'm revising it all right now as we do these lessons with Isabella. So I have a talent for understanding the entire space of pedagogy, and have extensive experience with a wide range of students of different ability levels, very intelligent to medium intelligent to not so intelligent, and different levels of confidence, different levels of talent, and different personalities, and how to interact with them to bring them to a place of understanding. And so that's the most important part of my background. Oh, and what I was going to say is, when I would bring this in front of a classroom, I was natural, and I could just lecture in a way the students would understand me. None of the money, because I would go into these math classes, especially in the more affluent schools where the parents could afford tutoring, and I walk into an algebra geometry class, and I'd say to the students, how many of you understand what's going on in this class? And the students would be surprised to hear me ask that question, and 3 hands would go up. I'd say, well, how many would like to understand what's going on in this class? All the hands would go up. And I said, well, would you like me to teach you? And they said, well, yeah. So I start teaching them, and they go, oh my God, we learned more today than we did in the last 3 months. And then pretty soon they say, why don't you come and be our regular teacher? Well, that was impossible. What I would do though, is I said, well, if you want tutoring, you can come up and get a card. And so I had business cards. The kids would come up and I would give them a card if they asked for it. I would never pass them out. And my phone rang off the hook. So I was tutoring from 3 in the afternoon to 11 o'clock at night. I was getting paid to advertise during school hours, substituting, and then weekends I was tutoring as well. And yet, and all of this, I kept developing and developing my understanding of the whole pedagogical space by doing this, but I still wanted to teach. And that's a long story. I think that's enough, but I ended up starting my own private school program so I could teach the way I wanted to teach and have control over it. But then there was still more problem with credit transfer. It was a long story, and that's all. That story is on my website.
Okay. And okay, so do you have any, I'm trying to think here what I want to say. I guess any anecdotes that you can share about
what I want to say is what I'm trying to do with Algebra Victory is take Algebra 1. I'm trying to put my ultimate best into this. What I'm shooting with Isabella and the problems and the system behind there, where students will online, they will be given problems to do on paper. They'll enter their answers, and in the later version, they'll actually do the work online, and they'll get live tutoring while they're doing it. That's not the first version. That requires much more sophisticated software. But in version 1, they're going to get the video lectures of me, and they're going to get problems to do, and they're going to get some coaching on the problems. But this is my life's work. I'm just pouring my heart and soul into this, and I want to teach with my methods that I know work. I can teach any kid who can pass that prerequisite test in advanced arithmetic, and there's a sample prerequisite test right there on the website, then I can teach them algebra. I know I can. I've done it to hundreds and hundreds of kids. Never one kid I couldn't teach algebra, never.
Well, I do want to share a couple of things that I've observed as you're teaching Isabella that I think are unique to how you teach, and also to the method that we're using to record these lessons. And the first one is, I've seen you when you teach, you already anticipate where kids are going to get stuck, and so you give them scenarios where they learn not just what to do, but they also learn what not to do, right? And they learn to identify traps and pitfalls when they get too stuck on just remembering the procedure and not paying attention to what's being asked. And that, I considered myself a very good teacher. And when I saw you do that, I was like, oh man, I wish I would have done that. That would have captured yet another little slice of students that I lost, right? There's always the ones that get away that you just, and if I had done, followed that technique, it would have made the ones
Carlos, there are problems. I structure the problems to not only teach what to do, but to teach what not to do.
Right.
And that's why I'll have problems where the answer is you're stuck. I'll give as an example. Okay, 2x plus 3x, simplify that. Well, that's 5x. Okay, then I'll give them 2x plus, let's say 2y plus 3y. Well, that's 5y. All right, 2x plus 3. Well, you're stuck. It's not 5 anything.
Right.
Because the student will, 2 plus 2, well, that's 5, but do I put the x or do I not put the x? No, what you do is you don't put the 5. You're stuck. The answer is stuck, meaning you don't do that.
Right.
It's a simple example. I think that's the principle you're talking about.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I just remember just having the light bulb flash when I go, hey, that was a pretty smart way of getting the student, or Isabel in this case, to just solidify her understanding of what right it looks like, right, and how right is done. But the other piece I think is unique to what I've observed is, in none of the training programs, that the algebra online programs that I've seen, is there a teacher working with a student one-on-one live, right? I mean, literally, when you say you see all the body language, I mean, that's more telling than what's coming out of their mouths.
Very, very, very important. And Isabella's body language is also important.
Yeah, no, and it reminded me of how when one of my students would get stuck in class, I knew at least half of the rest of the class was stuck in the same place, right? And I would encourage them. I'd say, you don't ask stupid questions. They're only stupid people who are too dumb to realize that they need to get the answer, they get the solution from their teacher, right? They're afraid to ask because they're embarrassed about what their peers are going to say. Well, you guys are all in the same place. And I think
You know,
that that is,
Carlos, let me
yeah,
interrupt you. When I'm teaching a class, you don't ask the students, put your hand up if you don't understand, because then that's embarrassing.
right.
What I always say is, put your hand up if you understand me. If you understand what I just said, raise your hand. And then everybody's hand. Then I'm looking for the one who didn't put their hand up. Because it's, if they don't understand, they don't have the energy to raise their hand.
Yeah, no,
Their energy is feeling low.
so let's get a little bit into that, because we're not going to have that kind of opportunity for kids to interact and stop the lesson midway to say, Mr. Emerson, I don't get it, right? And so
Right.
what are you embedding into your program to make it more digestible so the kids learn it the first time, they get it right the first time? What are the things that you've woven into your program?
Well, the most important thing is to teach it well.
Mm-hmm.
And to break it into pieces. Each lesson is broken into about 6 to 8 sub lessons. Each is a separate lecture video, and then there are problems after that. There's problems after each sub lesson. If they don't understand the sub lesson, they can watch it again. But in version 1 of a system that we first released, there's not going to be a lot they can do, but later on there will be. There will be ways for them to get answers to questions.
And I think that because he's broken it up into sub lessons, each one is actually a tutorial, right? I mean, so
That's right.
There's no need for remediation if you've broken it down into digestible small pieces.
Right, exactly. I
Every step
don't make them sit through an hour lecture and expect them to get no. I'm teaching, some of the time I'm teaching general ideas that I need to get prepared, and then I teach a specific skill. And once I teach a specific skill, then I give them problems. Okay, do these problems. Prove to me you can do this. You need to practice. And if they don't get the problems right, they need to either watch Isabella do the problems and then get new problems, or they go watch the lecture again, or we're going to have a feature. I'm not sure it's going to be in the first version or the second version, where the system itself will take them line by line through the problem and show them the solution.
Moving on, the one last thing that I wanted to bring up about your program is, you talk about the mountain, right? The
Yes.
Algebra Mountain. Tell us a little bit about what you mean by that, and who it applies to, and what that means as far as who's going to succeed with your program, or who you think you can succeed with your program.
Well, you look at the website, there's a picture of Algebra Mountain. And the thing about algebra is there's a lot that has to be learned. Way, way more at a faster rate than when they're learning arithmetic.
Well, and you have some very specific numbers. Can you share those with us, the number of concepts?
Yeah. They need to, I want to make sure I use the same numbers that I say on the website. Let me just get this up here. I call it a triple whammy, because in arithmetic, there are maybe 200 concepts, facts, and skills that students have to learn in basic arithmetic. And then there are about 3,000 concepts they need to learn in algebra. So that's like a huge increase. So that's the first whammy. The second whammy is the time, because they get usually about 5 or 6 years to learn the arithmetic. So they got 200 concepts to learn in 5 or 6 years, and suddenly you have to learn 3,000 concepts in 1 year. It's a drastic increase in speed, both the number of concepts and the speed. And the third whammy is that in arithmetic, it's all concrete. You've got hard numbers. In algebra, you have X, you have variables, Y, Z, whatever it is. And a lot of people never understand what that X means. That layer of abstraction is the third whammy. And so put those all together, what is involved in learning first year algebra is intellectually much bigger deal than any subject that they've had before that. That's what I call Algebra Mountain. They need to get up the mountain. And most students, the way it's presented, the way it's taught, there's no trail. It's just a steep mountain. They have to get up the mountain. They have to climb. And most students, if I look at the students, I divide them into the top 10%, the math, the math, the students who are
right,
who are good at math, the math smart, the top 10% of math smart students. And then there's the 80% in the middle, and then there's 10% at the bottom who have intellectual disabilities and emotional disabilities. They're not candidates for algebra anyway. It's not going to benefit them. These people are, it's just not, I don't even attempt to teach those people. But the middle 80% are the ones that are missing out. The math smart ones, they know how to climb. They've got the ability to climb up that mountain. Algebra Victory is a trail. It's a trail that gets them up the mountain. It's a hard hike. It takes time. They got to huff and puff. They got to walk up that trail, but they can do it. Yeah. So they have to study hard. They have to work hard. They have to show up, do the lessons, do the problems. But if they do, if they persist, they will make it. And I've taken hundreds and hundreds of students up this trail, and adults too. And it just, that's what it is. So Algebra Victory is a trail that's virtually guaranteed to work if they will do the work. But with traditional instructions, what teachers will say and school counselors will say, well, you just don't have the aptitude, you know, or you didn't study hard enough. You're not smart enough. You know, this is not for you. And that's devastating to a student's ego. And it's not true. It's just not true. They need a trail. You're asking them to climb up rock, and they don't know how, they don't have that ability, but they can walk up a trail.
Well, and it sounds to me, you know, as I listen to you for the first time, I'm having an aha moment here, which is, you know, your success as an instructor, or even as a curriculum developer, or even as an online program developer, its success is going to depend first and foremost with the attitude that the creator brings to the process. And so it sounds to me like you're coming in with the belief that 90% of the kids that use your program can pass Algebra 1 as long as they stick with it, right? Versus,
well, yeah, I would say it. Where'd you get the 90?
Well, the 10 elite, right? The math smart, and then the other 80%.
The 10 at the bottom, the low IQ students, they won't even pass the prerequisite test.
That's what I'm saying. That's the 10. That's the 10 missing to make the 100% out of the 90.
Yeah. They're not part of the calculation.
What I'm saying is, so you're saying there's the 10% that would pass algebra, whether it's with your program or they just go to any school.
They're passing it right now.
Right.
They're getting the STEM field jobs.
Throw them into a closet with an algebra textbook. They come out knowing algebra, right? Through osmosis. Right. And then there's,
they will like Algebra Victory much more. They will love Algebra Victory. They'll learn more. They'll love it.
Well, because it'll cut to the chase.
Because they're going to get deeper insights than they otherwise would.
Right. And then, but then you're saying there's all the B-, C+, C, C-, D students who leave algebra never wanting to do math again because they didn't really learn or retain anything. And you're saying that you've built this for them, right? You've built it so that they too can experience, you know, a full comprehension of the body of algebra, right? Because a lot of people don't understand that.
They're going to get it. They're going to get it, and they're likely going to pass the final exam. And if they don't pass it the first time, they can take it again. They go back and review.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Now, so we were talking at the beginning of the program about the interview that what you're looking for and what you need right now is investments, right?
Yes.
So this is not a donation. It is for a good cause, and I do want to bring that up. That I brought on Mark as, it started off as I was bringing my daughter to get tutored. I've been trained by her, and then she's part of the business model. But over time, we've become partners, and now he's a quasi client of mine. And the reason why is because I really believe in this program. And so I believe that it's going to allow the clients of my other clients to not be subject to the constraints of whatever school they're going to, and they can liberate themselves and advance themselves taking the program like Algebra Victory.
Yes.
To really, level the playing field. And so it's still part of the greater mission to include Algebra Victory in what we're doing. And so, but what we need is investment so that we can proceed with the program. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the current status of the project and where you need some help?
Well, we're doing the videos, but we got stopped. We got stopped on the video production because of the COVID-19 virus.
Right.
So you're not able to bring Isabella over to continue the video shooting, and we need to resume that as soon as possible.
Sure.
And the effect of that is to delay when we release.
So not only are there,
that's good for our prospects.
Absolutely. I mean, there's already millions of people doing homeschooling as it is.
Yeah,
you're saying is that market is about to
at least 2.5 million in the United States alone as of 2019. And that's before any, I don't think they have good statistics yet on what's happening with COVID situation. So,
right.
So anyway, I want to get this product released as soon as possible, even if we don't have all 75 lessons finished, we can still release, but we have a lot of development work to do on the back end, and they need money for that. A lot of video editing to be done, a lot of programming to be done, and there are people that need to be paid to get that done. And they need to raise money. And I have my own resources that are depleting. And so what I don't want to have to do is quit working on the project and start doing other things in order to survive. So we have have an investment opportunity, an offering. It is not a traditional offering. It is a unique new way to invest money in a nonprofit. Rather than purchasing shares of stock, you purchase something called hearts. And what the hearts do is they give you, your investment is actually a donation. It's tax deductible into a 501c3 corporation. And then when Algebra Victory is a success, instead of paying dividends, we'll pay in like manner, depending on how many hearts you have, we will pay grants to another nonprofit, which is either your own, the investor's nonprofit, or a nonprofit they designate. And so that's a new financial paradigm, and it's all described in great detail on the website. So if you'd like to invest, we'd love to get you on board. The minimum investment is $900, and we'd be very grateful to have you come on board. It is spiritually based. We're doing this in the light, not any particular religion, but definitely in the light of spirit, and because we believe that teaching mathematics is coming from a deeper place in the spirit. It's not just mechanical. There's something more than that, and so I would encourage your audience to go to AlgebraVictory.org, AlgebraVictorY.org, and check it out. There's a lot of information on the website. The first page is pretty simple, and then there's several other pages that go in deeper and deeper. And as an investor, you can be confident we're disclosing everything we can. That's very important to me, that investors receive accurate information. But you get a tax deduction anyway, so it's going to be, it is a risk, but I'm very confident we're going to be successful.
So let me recap on the investment side of things. So minimum investment $900, but yes, it's tax deductible, right?
It's tax deductible at the time you make the investment in that year.
Okay. Plus whatever returns there are, whatever gains there are, those will not come back to you as cash.
That's one thing I need to say. Let me explain something.
Yeah.
Since it's a nonprofit, we cannot we have to, there are rules about nonprofits restrict us. But what we're doing is we're taking 5% of the gross revenue. 5% of the gross revenue from Algebra Victory sales, and also when we do the geometry and other products later, 5% of those gross revenues will go to the hearts. They'll be paid as grants proportionally to the hearts. So if you, depending on how many hearts have been sold, then the proportion amount that you have will determine how much of that 5% goes to your nonprofit.
Gotcha.
And so we're projecting that I have a financial projection on the website that's based on just homeschool market, and not because there's more markets besides homeschool. Eventually we will be marketing into the public schools and private schools. There's also the adult market. A lot of adults who didn't learn algebra, and they're going to, you know what? In fact, I have a good friend. I just talked to him last week. I've known him for years. He said, Mark, you know, I want to do Algebra Victory myself. I fell flat on my face in algebra. And so he wants to do it, and he's going to be one of our beta testers. So there's a huge market, but the projection is based only on homeschool market in the United States. Nothing international. And of course, as we translate it into other languages, there'll be more market there. But English is the most widely spoken language in the world. Anyways, there's projection through 2023 that the amount of grants that will get paid on your investment will be about 8 times your investment. So if you invest, let's say $1,000 now, that by 2023 you would have your nonprofit would have received $8,000 in grants. And so and that doesn't stop. It'll keep going.
So okay, so then not only would you be able to contribute to the charity of your choice, but it'll be much more than if you just went out of pocket and gave it straight to them through this investment.
Right. We're amplifying your ability to support what you want to otherwise support by going through this channel.
Okay, great.
So like you said, you have people who only want to read 250 characters of text. Well, you know what? My website is designed for people who are willing to do some real reading. You can go ahead and invest, just jump down to where the investment forms are, but I prefer that people take at least a time, at least scroll through, at least glance, you know, and see, look at all the depth that's there. This is not a scam. This is a real, carefully thought out deal. And just like algebra, you can't learn algebra by reading 250 characters of text. It's a serious study. And so anyway, we're looking for investors that appreciate the fact that we're very serious about this.
Yeah, no,
and I've done a lot with the colors on the website to make it easier to see, to understand. The colors help tie it together.
Thank you for taking the time to speak to us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Carla.
Absolutely. And viewers, take some time to think about what we're proposing to you. It's not something that sunk in right away with me. But yeah, no, I've definitely invested in this already because I believe in it. You know,
and I appreciate your investment, Carlos.
Oh, for sure. And you know, I'm all about keeping the lifestyle that I'm living right now, and you know, just keeping the lights on. The rest of it is all for the kids, right? We want the children to make the world better than what, you know, the condition we're leaving it in. And the only way they're going to do that is if they're smarter than we are. And we've gotten dumber in recent times. So let's go back to making them smart. And Mark knows how to do that with mathematics. So Mark, thank you for what you're doing. And I'll catch you on the other end.
Okay, great. Thanks. Right. And remember, it's AlgebraVictoryorg.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
All right.